Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the Jury House podcast. I'm Noah Massey,
And I'm Jimmy L.
and we are here to talk about week 5 of Big Brother 3. I feel like this season it just keeps moving along on the track here. I feel like we are definitely at a point in the season where we are picking up some momentum here. So, Jimmy,
Like
what are
shit
your
is
thoughts?
getting real. Shit is getting real. So I wrote that down like multiple times. And I will say, this next episode, episode 15 that we're about to discuss,
Yeah,
normally, like for recording purposes, I normally watch it through, kind of jot down what's going on really quickly, kind of can look up and jot down. This was the very first episode that I had to literally pause like 20 different times because it was so much happening and people were saying so much. And I was like, oh shit, what did they say? Oh my gosh, what was that response? And oh my gosh, what was that look? And it was this episode, like it was a lot happening. And I was just, man, I was not prepared. But again, shit is getting real.
I agree with you. Yeah, I have a similar experience when I am watching that. I'm constantly like pausing to write stuff down, and this batch of episodes this week that we have here, it seems like there's a lot more going on in the game than we have
Yes.
previously had. So I really enjoyed this week because of that. And
Same.
there's some interesting stuff with especially with the vote out that we get here, but also it feels like Chiara's feet are kind of being put to the fire here. You know,
They
it feels like she is a little bit on trial here this week, even though she's HOH. So I
which
thought
is
that
so
was
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
So yeah, it was just kind of firing on all cylinders here. So I am excited to talk about it. Let's get into it.
Let's do
So
it.
we open episode 15 here, as you said, with um, basically last week Eric had been evicted, and we essentially ended up getting our first tie of the season. It came down to Jerry having to make that ultimate decision there.
And I'm still shocked that he was the head of household. I just got to throw that out there. Like I'm still in disbelief. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, he is kind of the comp beast
Oh my
of the season
gosh.
here, but yeah, I mean he's getting some stats on the board. So um but yeah, so we kind of open with Eric is gone after this tie here. I don't think anybody was really expecting it to come down to a tie, and so we get a DR from Lisa who says the vote came down to one person, and neither Eric or I like that one person.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I,
Um, so then we get Jerry and the DR saying, of course, Eric was very shocked. We get Jason, who is feeling a little bit guilty because he is the vote that brought it down to a tie. And, we talked last week a little bit about how Jason is playing a good game so
he
far
is.
here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think, there's just this empathy that we are seeing from him that I think will potentially really play to the jury here.
Mm.
I
Mm.
yeah, I think that he is. I mean, I think he's genuine in what he is saying here,
Of
but
course.
I think that
But you think it's going to play out in his favor in a positive way in the jury house?
I think it could.
Yeah.
You know, because he's just this sweet
Sweet,
guy.
likable.
Like he's like, I feel bad that I was the vote that brought it down to this tie here. So,
Yeah.
you know, I thought that was good from him there. Then we get a DR from Chiara, who is our new head of household, and she says, I lost a friend. Lisa's
Yeah.
great, but have I really connected with her? Not really. And
Yeah.
so she's just continuing to double down on this decision that she made last week, continuing to treat it as if they were never really friends before. So it doesn't really matter that
To
she
her.
voted to evict her.
And honestly, I get it. It was in her best interest. Well, not even. I really don't think it was gameplay wise, but she felt in her mind that
Right.
it was. And so, like, I mean, you make the decision, like, own it. And so, yeah, like, I think that part is great, but how she is playing this out, I don't think it is. Like, it's just, yeah, she's like the worst at this right now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was thinking about is like, okay, so if you say that you weren't really close with this person, then
Mm-hmm.
okay, when it comes down to the final two and you need their vote, like, what are you gonna do here? Like,
But I thought she was. I thought like her and Lisa were very, very close.
yeah, I do feel like the show gave the impression when Tanya left that Chiara and Tanya were a bit closer, but I do remember thinking that was weird because there's also nothing that we see that seems to suggest that Chiara and
Otherwise,
Lisa weren't close.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, but it's also, I do think there is a tendency with these like female alliances that they always kind of eat each other because there's always this kind of
Bickering
petty
and
competition that can go on there. So it's not too surprising, but yeah,
it sucks.
yeah, it does. It does. So we see Roddy and Lisa, and they are basically bonding over losing Eric.
Yeah.
And Roddy's, doing this DR about what a great guy that Eric is, you know, and Lisa's like consoling him. He just voted her out, and
Yeah.
she's like, oh, I know that you lost a friend here. Like,
I get it, and I get it. And like, no,
right,
I feel like I have no empathy for her in this moment.
right,
But you're
yeah,
you're right. Like, don't be stupid. Like, he didn't vote for your friend. His friend, he voted to get your ass out, and that didn't even register to you. Like, it did not register to you at all. And so you're right. Crazy. Like, she just bless her heart.
right,
Early.
yeah, just kind of. We've said it before about how these players obviously don't know the nuances of how to handle these situations, but that's just an interesting choice from Roddy there.
Yeah.
So it's still a heartfelt moment, and it is something that is followed up by a DR with Danielle,
Yes.
where we get our count, 4 down, 6 to go.
Yes. She's never gonna let us like live that down. Like, she's not gonna let us forget. But again, I mean, she is in. She's playing the game. She's another one that is obviously, the queen of the chess right now,
Right,
or on the chessboard, and she's going and completely under the radar. No one is even talking about her. Like, you've heard more of them talking about Jason than you have about her. And
right.
so that is just is blowing my mind. But she's right. 4 down, 6 to go. She's trying to get this 500K, she says.
Yeah, I think something that is interesting to bring up right now, which I forgot to mention in the last episode in terms of live feed stuff, is so we end up getting this tie, right, where Jerry is ultimately made to make the choice to get rid of Eric. And this was something that was orchestrated by Danielle and Jason. So they wanted Jerry to get blood on his hands, but
Oh.
it was kind of a twofold situation. They wanted that to happen, but they also wanted to make it clear to Lisa, like, hey, Chiara is not with us. And so, having a situation where you know what votes you're supposed to be getting, and then having it turn into this tie here was kind of the thing that set off Lisa's alarm bells that maybe Chiara hadn't done what she said she was going to do. And then that was orchestrated by Danielle and Jason there, which is just another kind of demonstration here of just how much Danielle is kind of being a game bot here.
Yeah, so she actually more goes on within this episode and the next actually that proves that even more in regards to Danielle. But I did not know that was all on her and Jason. I didn't realize that they wanted Jerry to get blood on his hand. I did not know that. Damn.
Yeah, I neglected to mention that. That is my bad, but little spicy info there going into what we see this week from her. So from there, we basically flash back to the HOH competition. Chiara wins it, and we get Jason in the DR being concerned that revenge might be in store, and Jerry is also feeling like he's in the same position. We then get a conversation between Josh and Jerry where Josh says that that if Jerry ends up on the block, that he will have at least one vote to stay because Josh doesn't think that he will be put up next to Jerry.
Yeah. Which, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around this friendship, this bond between Jerry and Josh. I understand it from a Josh perspective because you really, at this point, you really don't have anyone else in the house. You really don't. But Jerry, I don't understand. Like he has really called you out on a lot. That were personal attacks. And so I don't know if I could ever play with somebody or have an alliance with somebody like that attacked me personally and took it past the game. And so I don't understand Jerry's reasonings.
Yeah, I feel like Jerry's just kind of biding his time there. I really feel like he's trying to get, because I don't think he has any love for Josh, and I think it's a little bit evident in this week that like he's fine with Josh going as soon as possible. I think he's just trying to get as many allies on his side as he can, because Jerry's in the same spot of not having
That's true.
too many allies. I mean, he I think is pretty tight with the Danielle Jason side of things. And he kind of knows Josh has also been kind of pulled into that fold. So it might just kind of be like, I'm not going to blow up one alliance by, another alliance by trying to go after this guy. So then we get a conversation between Lisa, Chiara, and Danielle.
Yes.
Lisa says that if Chiara puts Jerry up, they want to make sure that Josh doesn't win the veto. And then Chiara says that if someone hasn't given her their word, they are likely to be put on the block.
So it's at this point, the power I feel like is going to her head. And even when she said that, like the look on Danielle's face and even Lisa's, it's just like, damn, girl, like that is like, oh, okay. Like it was almost ruthless. And I'm just like, girl, like you can't go too far with your power because you're gonna need these people to depend on them for next week if you're still here. And so I'm like, I feel like she was not Chiara. I feel like she wasn't. Her brain was only thinking about this week and
Yep.
having that power, and it was just running to her head. But yeah, yeah. But I'm with them. I think putting Jerry up as well as Josh. I honestly, definitely Josh. You know, I've been wanting Josh to go for the
Right.
longest. So I was very happy about hearing his name and as an option being on the block and wanting to get rid of him again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. It's a bad way to be approaching an HOH in week 5 of the game because we're a month into it and now people are really going to start playing the game and it would kind of be a different situation if it was like week 1 or 2 where people weren't going to care who you chose to send out the door, but like you said, you need to depend on people, or you need people to depend on you going into the next
To the
week.
next
And,
week.
and I'm pretty sure that's something that Chiara says, either she said it last week or she says it in one of these episodes here, that there was a conversation, I think, between her and Jerry. So it might have been during Jerry's HOH where
About Josh.
they're having a conversation and Kiara's like, I don't like this guy, but I need him on my side going into the next week, or I can't make waves because I need certain people on my side going into the next week. And so this is just kind of contrary to that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So then we we kind of flash back to I believe this is prior to Eric's eviction, where Josh catches a handshake between Jason and Marcellus, and
Yes.
this leads him to think that they made a deal to vote out Eric, and that so he runs this back to Roddy, who then runs it back to Marcellus, and he I believe Marcellus reveals that Jason had told him that he was sticking with the plan. So he's like, nope, there's nothing wrong going on here, nothing sketchy. But then we get a DR from Roddy who says we're turning into a law firm, and he's basically saying like we have to confirm the agreements that are being made because everybody is basically beholden to their word. And so if you can get a verbal agreement, then you're going to be held to it by the rest of the house.
I mean, I think that's fair, though. I think
Mhm.
that's fair. I think it's fair, especially right now, because um, we can see as the audience is there's obviously two sides of a house.
Mhm.
We can see that, but if you're in the house, you're just like everybody's lying, coming in from every. Bring all the liars to the table. Let's shit. Okay, if you're not a man or a woman of your word, like okay, let's put it out there. And so, but for Roddy, I think all of this happened, and he said he didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Eric, and so I think he was just completely hurt by that and not being able to say goodbye. And so I think all of this is coming from a very, very hurtful and prideful place on Roddy's part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, right? Yeah, cuz he takes things very much like personally, right?
Yes.
He wears his emotions kind of on his sleeve there. So if he thinks that someone is trying to get one over on him, then he's gonna have something to say about it.
And he does.
So yeah, so basically with this conversation now, Josh is basically anti Jason. He wants him out.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get a DR from Chiara who says that she is also losing trust in Jason and she's considering putting him up. And this is something that I think we get a little bit throughout the episode where Jason is kind of thrown out as one of the potential nominees more than a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But she ends up having a conversation with him to essentially ask him why he voted the way that he did, and he tells her that it was scary for him to be a fifth wheel in a couple's alliance, and that when Eric immediately sold out Josh, that scared Jason because he thought that it could be him. And he said, I didn't come here to be someone else's pawn. I came here to play my own game.
Was it smart on his behalf to say that to her? What do you think?
He said that in the DR.
I thought he said that to her,
I
to
I think
Chiara.
nope.
No,
I
you may
think
be right. You may be
yeah.
right. I'm sorry. I surely thought he said that to her.
Nope.
So did he not have a conversation with her about the vote?
No, he did. He what he tells her is it was scary to be a fifth wheel in the couple's alliance, and then he says that when Eric sold out Josh, he got scared because he thought that that meant that Eric could come for him down the line.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
That's
what he
all
said
he
to her.
says to her. Yeah.
But do you think that was wise for him to even justify his reasons to her? To her.
Oh. Uh I I I feel like it I mean that's a good question because if because essentially what he's saying is yes, I was the fifth rung in that alliance. I know you people don't value me. So you're right. That is something that is not the best thing to say. I don't know, but the other part of me is feeling like this is a house that is so kind of hell bent on the truth and honesty that it's not bad to be transparent about it. But again, I don't know how that wouldn't then make her feel like, oh, if this is how he thinks we feel about him, then that must mean he's
He's
not
got.
with us and he's got some other irons in the fire there.
And so that's kind of what I was thinking in my mind. I'm like, because if you're obviously you're thinking game, you really haven't displayed it. And so for you to be thinking that now, for me, it would give me pause, especially if I was the head of household and I'm in a duo. That would
That's
definitely give
true.
me pause. It would give me pause. Like, okay, maybe you are plotting against me behind the scenes and I just hadn't seen it. So anyway, I was just curious if you thought like what did you think of him saying that? But I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point to make. It's like, okay, so if you don't want to be the fifth wheel in a couples alliance, that must mean that you want one of the couples gone, and you've
Gone.
already gotten rid of one of them.
One of them.
So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not a great move by Jason there. So then we get an interesting move from Danielle where she goes up to Chiara
Yes.
and she is like, "Oh, I want to thank you for voting to keep Lisa. I think that's really great that you kept your word there." And what she is essentially trying to do is trap Kiara into basically lying to her. And it works. She gets her hook, line, and sinker.
Quick. And then the look on Kiara's face. Okay, it's
Right.
Kiara. Like
Kiara.
the look on her face was just like she was petrified that she had just lied, but she kept
Yep.
going. Like, this is what I wrote down. I was just like, so much is happening so quickly, and I was just like, and I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up because I was like, I didn't even realize that it was like a bait and switch thing with her immediately, and I was just like, what's like? Why are you? I was like, did she vote for Lisa? Like, it made me double think. I was like, did she vote for Lisa? Wait a second. Like, what is Danielle talking about? Why is this coming up? Like, what is going on here? So I was like, I had to rewind, get back into it. I was just like, oh, okay, got it. Got you, Danielle. And then what she did with it next, I'm just like, okay. Danielle is like a mastermind, a mastermind of this game. She just, I'm hands down, I will give that title to her.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a step above, I think, usually what we see people do. I don't feel like we get this move very often
Yeah.
from people. there's a little bit of like trying to get confirmation from people, or trying to catch people in lies, but I don't think we necessarily see something orchestrated like this in this way. So it is something that is, I think it's pretty pretty interesting. I think it's a good kind of move here. So she basically runs this information back to Lisa, and we get a DR from Lisa where she's reacting to this news, and she is like, "All right, the Princess of Darkness is out."
Yes. I was just like, girl, stop. Like, stop, Lisa. Don't do that, baby. Just stop.
Hey, she warned us last week that, like, if I'm playing this game on my own, then I am playing it heartless, and when I get heartless, things are gonna get nasty.
Yeah, okay. Like you didn't even know about this. You know what I mean? And you're still in this delusional phase of you and Chiara being friends. So like I yeah. Okay, Princess of Darkness. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I you won't be surprised to find out that I love this, and
The Princess of Darkness?
yeah, I really like everything that we got from Lisa this week. I like the unveiling of the Princess of
Yeah.
Darkness. Whether or not she's actually able to live up to that name, like that's what I'm waiting for. But in terms of this introduction into this new version of Lisa, it's something that is it's compelling. It's a
Yeah.
compelling storyline for me, at least.
And it was entertaining to watch this week for
Right.
sure because she definitely played her part. I will give her that. She played her part this week in a way that I've never seen her play it within the game. So yeah,
Right.
I'm in agreement with you. I got you.
All right. All right. So then I don't know if you had any thoughts about the Jerry exercise segment that we got.
uh,
I personally do not, but
No, other than I'm glad that they're showing it because originally they were, we talked about it before,
mhm,
that they were painting him out as he was just this big slob that doesn't do anything and is extremely lazy and, has gained weight and all this other stuff early on.
yeah,
So I did not like that painting of him, that
right.
picture of him, because you were seeing him behind the scenes kind of working out. So I'm glad that editing has kind of put this narrative back out there. So way to go, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a much more positive spin than the last time that we got this ab workout segment.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have Josh and the DR calling him a fat bastard.
Oh
So
yes, forgot about that. Shit. Wow. Yep.
so we're trending upward. That this is yeah, and then this is followed up with a segment about Roddy, and just how dang smart he is, and how he's trying to talk about all of these really like complex things, and trying to share knowledge with people, and they don't really get him, and so he's feeling kind of isolated in the house there. And I I I have a hard time feeling too bad for him. I mean, I don't think it's great to be like, oh, here's Roddy going off on one of his things again. But it's like, you know, don't hate me because I'm so dang
Smart.
smart.
Like, yeah.
But the other side of that is, of course, it does have to be difficult to be in a house where you have certain things that you are interested in,
Yeah.
and you're trying to kind of navigate how to deal with people that don't have those particular interests.
Now, being in a house with them probably would be a little bit more difficult, but I'm like, you deal with that every day. whether work, family, none of you all have the same, likes and dislikes. Like it is what it is. And so I wish he would not have gotten this segment. So I wish that would not have happened. But I'm with you. I don't feel any empathy or sympathy for him whatsoever for being a smart person. In fact, I was so bored out of my mind, like I was eating, going through this little segment, and choked on my damn food because Josh, out of nowhere, was like, "Man, I know how you feel. I'm always used to being the smartest friend." I'm just like, dude, Josh, if you are the smartest one in your group of friends, then something is wrong. Like something is wrong. Something is wrong. Like I literally choked on my food. I was like, "This is some shit. This is some BS." It was just crazy. Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you there. We do later on in the week was that, yeah, Roddy's friends that we get the hometown interviews with later on.
Yes, it is Roddy and Chiara's. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
I'll have some thoughts there. That was
Can't wait to hear them.
that was some interesting insight into the types of people that he
Hang
hangs
out with.
around with outside of the
Mm-hmm.
house that are so much smarter than all of these people. So, uh, this, so we go from this Roddy is smart segment to a segment about what a potty mouth that Chiara
Chiara
is.
is.
We have Danielle at one point telling her that she needs Jesus
Yes, yes,
because she's just so dang filthy.
yes. Oh my
Um,
gosh. Oh Jesus.
I thought, I don't love these fluff segments that we get. Sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, yeah.
This was made more interesting to me by the fact that it followed the Roddy segment, because then that's a nice little
Mm,
contrast between the two of
mm,
them there. But
mm.
I don't think it told me anything that I didn't already know about Chiara. It didn't make their relationship make any more sense
No.
to me. So,
One thing I would like to add, and I kind of can relate to a degree because she made the statement she's used to pushing the boundaries. She, if
right,
somebody or something says that she cannot do it, she's
yep,
the one to go out and do it. And I'm like, okay, that's great. That's awesome. That's an awesome mindset to have. But at one point, you're going to wake up and realize like you don't have anybody pushing you or telling you what you can and cannot do. And now you have to figure out what it is that you really want out of life. And so
right,
I was just like, like for you to say that, great, fine. But it was just so immature. It was just such an immature thing for her to say and do. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it was funny coming off of the Roddy segment, and it was more funny to me seeing the house guests in the DR talking about her. Like that was more interesting. Like seeing Jason and blushing, and like Jason is like, Lord have mercy. Like this is a lot. And so that was more interesting to me than her. So yeah, yeah. But they could have left it. They could have left it off.
they could have, and yeah, I agree with you. It's sometimes more interesting to see how people react to these house guests rather than the house guests themselves. There's more meat on the bone that way. Um, so then we get a little bit of a tease here about this twist that we
Yes.
will find out about later on in the week, and
It's
so the house guests are told to expect the unexpected, which is I think we've already heard it this time in Big Brother 3, but of course, this is the staple motto of the Big Brother
yes.
US franchise. So then we get some talk about the jury and the people that are already on the
Evicted.
right. Oh, I didn't mark this down. So is this must lead into when they're told about the twist, or
Yes.
just okay, okay,
Yeah. They were all in the living room.
right. So they all are brought to the living room. They're told what the big twist is. One of the jurors is going to be able to come back into the game, and so they are all reacting to
Mhm.
this announcement here. So, were there any big reactions here that surprised you? Oh,
No, 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 no. The only thing that was just stupid.
okay, there you go.
Everyone was so happy about another person coming back into the house. Like, what are you thinking? Like, this is not the best friends race. Like, the purpose is to eliminate players. But I just found it to be interesting that every last one of the house guests were happy about an evicted house guest coming back in. Just I don't understand it. It just blows my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, um, I have to assume that some of that is playing it up for the camera there, because
Oh, good point. Good point.
I do not necessarily, there is some talk about, if they're brought back into the game, they're just going right back out.
Yes,
And
Jason said that. I
Jason,
think.
yep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I don't really feel that it is something that they are super psyched about, but you're not going to go in the diary room and tell the producers that they have made a bad choice. So, unless you're Josh,
Unless you're Josh. Unless you're Josh. With the lizards or iguanas. Yeah, unless you're Josh.
right? Um, yeah, there was nothing interesting here for me other than Lisa saying that she would love to have Eric back in the game, but did not think that it would be a smart move.
For her, yeah,
So
she said it.
it was very interesting to see her kind of have enough insight into that situation. I mean, last week we did get the conversation with them where they were like, well, if one of us leaves, then the other person is probably going to have an easier time navigating the game because they're not going to be a target anymore. But yeah, that was an interesting comment from
That was.
her.
That was.
So
Mm.
we, of course, have to go straight from that to a segment where the house guests are talking about really how hot and bothered it is that they are. And I understand it, I guess. You haven't been able to get some in a month, and yeah, people still say that, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm bringing it back.
All
So
right.
I don't know. There I mean,
There.
Danielle, I think, was really
Yes.
she's really itching for some action there.
I
So
saw. But I was just like, I found that it was crazy how they edited all of that. Because I'm like, I would assume none of them are sexually frustrated at the same time, is what my assumption is. But I'm like, it is crazy how they were kind of showing those different clips from everybody in the house. And I'm just like in how they're looking at others. And so it was just, yeah,
yeah, and
interesting segment.
four of them were in a showmance,
Yeah.
or in showmances.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they weren't getting something.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess. I mean, however, I don't think I would hope no one was having sex on camera,
right.
like within the house. I mean, I'm sure it eventually started to happen. Like I'm almost certain that it did, because I do remember
Oh,
like some leaks and stuff coming out later in seasons. But during season 3, I can understand. Like, dude, like okay, there's a camera like right there. Like this is not that kind of show.
just
So,
Just wait till we get to Big Brother 9.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Oh my gosh! Mm-mm.
Um,
What did Danielle say? You get nasty and you need Jesus.
there you go. Thankfully, we get away from this conversation pretty quickly as Lisa and Chiara have a chat where Chiara
Yes.
tells Lisa that they air things out, and Chiara tells her that Lisa told Eric she no longer had faith in Chiara and would put her up if she got HOH. Lisa denies this and says that she has not uttered anything negative about her anywhere. To which I say, Lisa, you are a liar.
So I took a different approach, and I literally
Okay.
wrote down the comment as well, and I was like, literally said, "Good for you, Lisa," because you're like, this is not the time to upset the head of household. Like no matter what, like do not upset her, like at all. Do not make this a thing. Let it go, calm her down, and move on. So I was glad she did this. I was happy for
Oh,
her.
oh yeah. No, me as well. Yeah, because she's playing ball here. She's playing the game. She's not kind of giving up her spot here by letting Chiara know that she's onto her, and
Yeah.
so she's just trying to keep it as civil as she can. Then we get a conversation between Josh and Chiara, where, of course,
Yes.
Josh is on the same BS that he was with Jerry last week, where he is asking Chiara, when you go to do the keys in the box, make sure to put mine in first.
Yeah.
Luckily, Chiara is reading into this. She finds it funny, and
Mhm.
she's like, what are you worried you're gonna go up and yeah. So it's an interesting choice by Josh there, and he says in the DR that he thinks that he has Roddy and Chiara on his side. He also thinks that he still has Jerry, and you know, so
Yeah, but I think he's scared,
right, yeah,
and rightfully so, rightfully so. But I think he's scared as hell, and he should be.
hmm yeah. It's yeah. He's just he's like a nervous little kid. It's like when you get in trouble at school, but it's like the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. So then the next day, you're just trying to be like as nice as you can to the teacher, so
Mm-hmm.
that they forget whatever
What happened?
happened
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they don't punish you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
he very much gives off that like nervous energy there. So this is actually what I was saying earlier. We get a DR from Chiara where she says, "As much as I can make decisions on my own, it's always nice to get house feedback because you want the house to support
Shit.
you when you're not HOH."
Yes.
So this is um kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it seems like she understands that concept, so I don't understand some of the choices that she makes that seem kind of contrary to that. But we do get a conversation between her and Jerry where she asks him if he has a deal with Josh, and he says, "Hey, this was only for 1 week, and
Mm-hmm.
I was using him." And so Kiara is able to get him to agree to vote out Josh if Jerry is kept off the block here.
And I'm glad Jerry said that as well. Like, hey, I honored my agreement. It was for 1 week. That shit is done. Like, it's done. That was it. He was safe for that week. We're done. So yeah. I'm glad he said it. It was honest, and he can keep his hands clean.
Yep. No permanent allies.
Exactly. Exactly.
Except
Mhm.
so Roddy comes in during this conversation, and
Yes, shit's getting
it
real. Come on now.
so So in the DR, Jerry says that he knows that Roddy's going to have some pull in this situation. Well, guess what, Jerry? Roddy's going up
Mm-hmm.
on the block, and you know, this is obviously a shock to Roddy. And Chiara says, it's because you're able to get people's word that they won't vote you out. And I this whole conversation was really, really wild to me, that she is doing this with the perspective that it is going to make people think that she isn't working with Roddy. Like I will say, in terms of how their relationship was in the house, it was very kind of like on and off. It was
Hot and cold.
it so you could almost play the angle that, like, oh, we're not as close as you think we are, but like, you're spending all your time with him. Nobody's gonna think that you're unattached when it really matters to have allies in the game here. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. I
I yeah,
I say good for her. I say good for her because on one hand you're showing your hand
yeah,
of how ruthless you really can be, and even though everybody was not didn't have access to that particular conversation, but we as the audience did, and I really do genuinely think that she believes that what she's doing is it would work in regards to proving to people that hey, I'll put my boyfriend up, you know.
right,
I definitely believe that she believes that. But I'm like, some of the shit that she said to him, she was just like, you're the
right,
only one that has a deal with Josh. And so you're the one that needs to sit next to him. And
right,
I'm like, oh, wow. Like that's a thing. And even when he started to try to question her about it, and it was just like, do you think Lisa would put Eric up? Shit, I'm not Lisa. So I was like, I was legitimately, I was like, okay, I see you. I see your ruthlessness. Okay, like she's playing this game, her head of household, a little differently, and it's just I'm here for the drama on this one. Normally I'm not. I normally hate the drama, but I'm here for it on this one, on this HOH. I'm here
yeah,
for it.
yeah. I like the drama of it. There is part of me that is thinking that, if I believed that she was playing her own game, and that, like, she would sacrifice him, then I think that, this is an interesting move. It is something that gives her a little more agency here. I just think that this is a precarious position to put him in, knowing that she just went against the girls last week. So,
Mm.
she doesn't have, like, a solid alliance to
So
fall back
either way.
onto.
Mm-hmm. True.
But
True.
yeah, ultimately we get to the nomination ceremony, and we end up getting Roddy and Josh nominations. You know, not super shocking here, probably a little bit shocking to the people in the house that Roddy is up there against Josh, and then she basically says to Josh, hey, this is because I found out that you lied about Lisa being against me,
Mm-hmm.
and you also told Amy that the vote was going to be unanimous a couple of weeks ago, and so, like, I can't trust you, and so the tower is finally falling over in terms of Josh's game there. And yeah, this is basically Josh kind of throws in the towel here. He
Yeah.
he starts packing his bags and saying he's ready to go, but then we get a DR from Danielle saying, Roddy thinks this is a slam dunk, but it might not be. So, uh, yeah, where we leave off here, I'm gonna assume that you like that Josh is up here
I do.
on the block. Do you
I do.
feel
I
uh,
do.
um so on a personal and a game level, you think this is a good choice here?
For Josh and Roddy, yes, I do.
Okay,
Gameplay wise, either one of them could go home.
okay,
Josh keeps up a lot of, I think, just who he is. There's a lot about him that I just simply don't like. I would love to see Josh go home. On the other side of that, Roddy, like we talked about last week and the week before, Roddy is one of those duos, and you have to break up the duos. Like you've got to. So this would be a great opportunity to get rid of Roddy as well. So at this point, gameplay, I'm okay with either one of them going home. The only thing I did not like is how Chiara kind of put all this out there and against Josh. I may not like him, but I would not dehumanize him. Like that, I would not do. And I feel like she was attempting to do that and really like drag him and hurt his feelings on purpose. And I'm just like, if you do it accidentally, that's one thing. But I think she was doing it on purpose to even finalize it by saying that, I don't even want you to get a single vote. And even the emphasis behind that and how she did it, I think that was just completely uncalled for. You put him up on the block, damn it, let it be done. You didn't even have to give your reasons. So gameplay, I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready.
yeah,
Send one of them packing.
yeah. I don't hate that Josh is up here. I do kind of similar to the Roddy situation. It did feel like Chiara and Josh were starting to get relatively close, and so it does feel like he could be a number for her that she kind of needs
Really?
right now. I kind of felt like it. I don't think that that's a necessarily strong bond, and I know I do think that Josh is probably more connected to the Danielle Jason side of things, but I also feel like he's a little bit impressionable. So if you make him feel like he's important, then I feel like you could kind of get him on your side. And I was honestly wondering if this might be the week to go after Jason.
Why? Only because of what they said earlier?
I because kind of going with that, I feel like it, I I I guess she doesn't have enough information necessarily to really know what a power player Jason is in the game here, but I just kind of feel like in terms of the pieces that are on the board, I'm thinking if you want to get if you want to get a power player out of the game and you want to keep the few pieces that you do have, you get someone like Jason who admittedly, like there has been conversation about what kind of player he is and how he's going to be hard to get out because everybody likes him. So I do think that that could have been an obvious choice for her to make. But again, I mean, doing the house's bidding and getting rid of Josh, it's not a terrible thing. I just don't know that it pushes her game forward that much.
Well, it makes me happy.
Yeah. And
I'm
that
good.
oh, alrighty. All right.
That is so mean to say. That is so mean to say. I'm sorry, Josh, but man.
um well, yeah, there you go. It's not I can't say I fault you. So we end the episode there and open with episode 16, where we get a diary room from Josh, who says, I've been lied to by an incredibly treacherous bitch.
Yes. I think he called her a bitch like 3 times. I was like, damn, Josh. Like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
he doesn't mince his words. He's gonna tell you how he really feels. So
So I will
yeah,
say this though, since we're starting with this episode and how Josh started out, I, as an audience, like I was so confused, Noah. Like I was like, okay, wait a second, did she lie to him? Did he lie to her? Like what actually happened? And so I had to place some things in my mind as to what was going on. So I'm kind of grateful for Josh, and I say this loosely. I'm kind of grateful for Josh for kind of what he's doing now in trying to call Chiara out.
yeah. I think there is. I think there is I think a lot of it is Kiara kind of, as Josh says, cover her own butt there a little bit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because we do get some flashes to the previous conversation they had where it really felt like it was more Kiara saying some stuff and then Josh just kind of confirming it.
Yeah.
But we basically, following the nomination ceremony with this public call out of Josh, we have Lisa really starting to kind of think about whether or not it's Josh that's really causing some problems here. And so she goes to confront him, and he basically tells her up front, hey, I'm not the one you should be mad at. Kiara is the one who voted you out last week. And Lisa accepts the answer, but she tells him, don't play with darkness.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I
Yes, sir.
I I I I needed Lisa to like pull out a top hat
Like I
as
know.
she said that last
And magic cards. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Like I don't. That woman is. But again, but she was playing along, right? Like she was.
right.
Yeah. So okay. She was just
Right.
yeah. But bless her heart.
Yeah, I think she was half playing along, half giving Josh the business.
Yeah.
She's had it out for him for a while, so this was the perfect opportunity to get to kind of let loose there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lisa goes to talk to Danielle, and
Mm-hmm.
she says that after the nomination ceremony, Chiara was looking for confirmation from Lisa that Roddy would be safe, and Danielle confirms to her that Chiara did the same thing to her, and Danielle says it's best to give her the reassurance she needs,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get her in due time. And in the DR, Danielle says, mouth closed, eyes open.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But she said it also to Lisa because Lisa
Oh,
actually
yeah,
she ends
right.
up repeating
Yes.
it later
You're
on.
right. Yeah.
But like this is like that first nail for Danielle. Like mastermind, mastermind. Like because Lisa, you haven't even been like you tried to do this all women's thing.
Right.
Danielle did,
Yeah.
but you really haven't been in talk with Lisa because she was so connected to Eric. And so
Right.
now it is very interesting to see the relationship now that Eric is gone. And so Lisa is following suit. She's
Yeah.
following
Yeah.
suit. Yeah.
She's taking her under her wing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very fun to kind of see her kind of pry at the floorboards, kind of it, pick up these pieces that have been kind of slowly coming her way in the last few weeks here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically, then Josh goes to confront Roddy about this plan.
Yes.
And Roddy tells Josh, hey, I'm just as much on the block as you are. And Josh is like, that's bullshit. And he thinks he's being scapegoated for Chiara's choice to vote Lisa out. And so then Chiara comes into this confrontation, and there's this whole big thing about who convinced her to get rid of Lisa, and that's when all that we as the audience have learned so far comes to light here and is uh, it's a very beautiful drama to kind of
It
see
was.
play out here.
It was. It was. But then the next piece of that was Lisa asking, like Lisa and Danielle kind of hearing this big, huge outburst in the kitchen.
Mhm.
But like Lisa literally turns to her and asks Danielle, like, should I go out there? And so I was like, when I saw that, I was like, hook, line, and sinker. Like she got your ass. Like
Yeah.
whatever, whatever she needs you to do, you're going to do it at this point. I'm just like for you to like a conversation like that is so minute, and you're gonna ask somebody if you should go out there and participate. Like yeah. Like Lisa, yeah. Like you're done. You're under her spell. Like you're under Danielle's spell at this point. Like yeah. It's a wrap.
Yeah, it honestly it reminds me a little bit of me because I've talked before about how I've played these online versions
Mm-hmm.
before, and I always play them with a friend of mine that is much more strategy minded than I am, so I'm constantly deferring to her for
Mm.
guidance on how I should be handling certain conversations here. But it is, you're right, it is so interesting to see the way that Danielle has been able to reel her in, and this is really a prime example of the power that
That she
she is
has.
able to exert over her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then this is another situation where I think ultimately Lisa ends up going out there
She did.
having another kind of confrontation with Josh there, and then following this conversation, this confrontation, her and Chiara go to have a little chat and smooth things over. And this is where Chiara admits what she did.
Yeah.
And, you know, even though things appear to be smoothed over, we know that, again, this is Lisa just kind of biding her time until she's able to strike. And I do wonder, how much like Lisa kind of enjoys like playing along with it, and just kind of like, you know being like fake to
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It feels kind of like this high school kind of drama thing where, we said it a little bit with the conversation between Kiara and Amy a couple of weeks ago, but the fact that she's doing this here, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna smile and grin at you as I'm trying to become the prom queen. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, I find it funny. It is,
yeah,
it's been entertaining to see them do this. I'm glad Lisa sees her eyes are wide open, but I'm Kiara. I don't know what's going through her mind. Like you dug your heels into this lie, and then now you got called out on it, and then now you're having to come clean. And so I don't know how she can't see the writing on the wall.
right.
Like I just don't know. I don't know how, but she does it for some reason. Just
Yeah, and this is not the kind of drama that you want on your HOH week.
it's
Like,
not.
you are not
It's
supposed to be the
not.
one that's on the trial here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it's obvious that she's losing the power that she once had. Like she's losing it, but she's losing it because of her lies. And even again, I don't understand why she would not have just come clean to Denny in the first place. Like, cause it doesn't matter. You're the head of household, so it
Right.
doesn't matter. So, but this I'm not gonna beat the dead horse.
Yes, yeah, me either. But oh boy, is that horse limping on its last legs there. Um, so, but following this confrontation, Josh, again, he's feeling sorry for himself. He's having his pity party, and he he goes to pack, and Danielle kind of follows him into the room there, and he basically says, I've given up. I'm being scapegoated. I have no chance here. So like, what's the point in even staying here? Meanwhile, Lisa goes to talk to Danielle, and she tells her about the conversation with Chiara. She tells her that Chiara admitted to voting her out last week, and this is when the two women both contemplate voting to get out Roddy, and they quickly change course here when Chiara comes in and Danielle tells her about the conversation that she had with Josh.
Did you see the look on Kiara's face when she? And we could pre-record that and put that anywhere. Oh my gosh! Like it was just. I thought you were coming outside. I was like,
Oh,
come
right.
on, it was hilarious. Like she's obviously scared and nervous, but she's still the writing is she still doesn't see it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy for you to be scared and paranoid in that moment, but you don't see how the backlash is going to come back to bite you. Like she just doesn't see it. It's just silly. Sorry, I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I think she sees it. I think it's again, it's one of those things where the person deep down, the person's really mad at you, so you're just trying to be as nice as you
As
can,
you
and like,
can.
hey, we
Hey,
said we were gonna go play. Like, come on, you told me you were.
you're my friend. You're my friend.
Um, so I'm sure, and it's always the situation where you have two people talking about you, and you come into the room, and then they stop talking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you feel the tension in the air. But Kiara goes to bring Josh into the HOH room to smooth things over, and it doesn't work because he feels betrayed by both her and Roddy. He says he doesn't want to be there anymore, and so then I believe Roddy goes in to talk with him, and he is able to talk him down, and it's so funny when you have a situation where, like, because in this situation, Roddy's not saying like, "Oh, you have a fighting chance." He's
Yep.
saying like, "Let's just enjoy our
Enjoy
last
the
week
week.
together." Like, that wouldn't make me feel better. That wouldn't make me feel like, okay, like, oh, then why am I going to stay here
Yeah.
if there's no chance for me?
But he had the waterworks, and
Yeah,
I don't. I'm really questioning whether or not he has emotional maturity to even be on the show like this,
right.
Josh.
Yeah, yeah,
I just don't, because one moment you said that these were fake tears and you were faking all this. They can come on when you want them to, and that you're just putting on the show. But then later on, like it seems like it's real, and like you just, like you're an emotionally stunted child, and
mhm,
you don't know how to articulate what you're feeling. You don't know how to deal with negativity. You don't know how to, how to cope when someone tells you no, or you don't win. And so I feel like a huge part of that is him. I feel like a huge part. I know he's gonna lie and say it wasn't real. I just feel that he does or would, but I just yeah. I'm sorry. I was about to go down a rant.
yeah. Well, so
You got to stop me, Noah. You got to
I'm
stop me,
sorry.
man.
I don't know if have you seen Big Brother 19? That
Um, I don't
that is the
know.
one with Josh Martinez.
I don't think so.
Okay, probably not. Okay. There down the line there is a player that it just occurred to me is a lot like Josh, even though he is like Josh up to like 11, and
Mm.
it's the same kind of deal where there's a lot of waterworks. There's a lot
Mhm.
of kind of acting out, and then once he comes down from that, he's able to kind of apologize to people and kind of not necessarily get back on their good side, but like get to a point where they're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, yeah, that's a very similar situation to what we see here from Josh in Big Brother 3 here. So,
Oh
hey,
yes. Oh yes.
if you were wondering if Jerry is still a slob,
Ugh.
he is
Yes.
apparently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we basically get this segment where he's just doing a bunch of gross stuff
Yeah.
and he's like washing his drawers in the sink.
Yeah. Now that one I literally wrote down. Oh hell no. Oh hell no. Like the producers, you better come get his ass right now. Like we're not doing that. Now, out of everything that he was doing, even coughing over the food. Okay, I know
Oh
not to eat that. Okay, I know not. I'm not gonna eat that. Got it. But washing your underwear in the sink, oh boy, you too old for that. You are too old for that. Like who does that? At least go to the shower. At the very
right.
least, if you're gonna do that, or go to the bathroom, or there's the water hose and bucket outside. You know, just oh my
Yeah,
god.
they have the thing where they're able to wring out the towels. So they
Mm,
definitely have water in the backyard, like a hose of some sort. Like that yeah, this I know they're roughing it a little bit. They're
mm,
doing well, they're doing things in a more old-fashioned
mm.
way.
But I don't understand why. Because another thing that they pointed out was that he was putting his sweaty clothes into the dryer. So you
True.
obviously have a washer and
A
dryer.
washer. Yeah. That's a good point.
So what the hell? Like, what's
Yeah.
the? Come on
That's
now, Noah. Come, Noah.
that's something that I didn't consider. Hey, I wasn't gonna make excuses for him.
Okay, okay.
What I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say was, I know they're roughing it a little bit, but this is too much for me. But
Yeah.
now knowing it, that you're right, they obviously do have at least a washer dryer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for this
But
kind of thing.
and it's fewer people in the house. Like,
Right.
come on. Ugh.
Yeah. I I I I took more exception to the coughing over the food. I don't like cover your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know like th- you know I feel like that whole cover your cough campaign that we all learned in school that you have the poster where it's got the guy covering his mouth. I feel like that ruined us because then you got people coughing into their hand and then
Hands.
touching things and I'm just so glad that I don't have to. I deal with this a little bit in my daily life, but not necessarily to this extent.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Same. I'm not dealing with it.
mhm,
I'm not. I'm not. I'm telling you. Like, no, I'm serious.
yeah,
We would have called the producers.
yeah.
We would have had a house meeting off camera. They would have cut the live feeds off by the time I got done. Because I could, mm, mm.
Now I want to see you on Big Brother so that anytime the feeds go down, I can just tweet out, "Oh,
Jimmy.
Jimmy's probably yelling at someone coughing over the food. He's calling a house meeting. They don't want
Oh,
us to see."
I'm telling you, Noah, man, man. Like mm-mm, mm-mm. I can deal with a lot of stuff, but that's just ridiculous,
Yeah,
nasty.
I I I will say I do have to point out that for as gross as Jerry is in this segment, they do end it by fat shaming him,
Oh,
and I don't remember what was said, but I know there was some, again, poking fun at his weight. So I feel like
Oh.
that was an unnecessary pot shot there. But everything else is valid. Don't wash your drawers in the sink. Don't cough on my food. Wash your damn hands.
Mhm, mhm. There we go. That should be that's the new slogan. That's the new slogan, damn it.
There you go. Um, so then we get a conversation between Marcellus and Danielle, and they're talking about how many votes they would need to get rid of Roddy. And I believe they say they need 3 votes.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to get Jerry's vote because Danielle knows that they're not going to be able to get Jason. And Jerry says in the DR, there's been a lot of talk about honesty and loyalty, so I am feeling torn.
And actually, this was another because originally Marcellus was going back and forth with Danielle because he wanted to send Josh home.
Right.
And so they were kind of, I guess she started to kind of convince him that they could potentially have the votes. But this is another great game mastermind play by Danielle because it was about how can we get Jerry? Like, what do we need to convince him to kind of get him onto this side? And so I was like, I honestly brought that down and I commend her for it. Like, she is, like these last couple of weeks, like it's, last couple of episodes, like it's her.
Right.
It's apparent that she is a mastermind. So, like, way to go, Danielle.
Yeah, because it's making it, hey, how can we get this done? How can we get Jerry on our side? Because
Mm-hmm.
we're in this together, and if we
Yep.
can work together to get Jerry on our side, like I know we can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's very much making someone who has felt on the outside feel like he is a part of something. I know that Marcellus has been rather flip floppy
Yes.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
this season, so that is kind of the only thing I think that stands in the way here a little bit. But nevertheless, I do think this is a good approach to take with Marcellus.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, then before we get into the veto competition, we get a little conversation between Roddy and Josh. Josh says that he'll veto him if he wins, and that is nothing that anybody wants to see. So
Yeah, I'm so over Josh right now. I really am. Like yeah.
yeah, it's just a lot of whining.
It is.
Campaign for yourself,
If you
man.
want to stay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's
Don't.
crazy. Like the other
Yeah,
person on the block with you has to come and console you and hug you, and I'm like, man, get out of here with that.
yeah,
Like, come on.
yeah. So then we go into the veto competition. It is
Yes.
called Clockwork, and essentially they have a series of 5 snapshots that will fade in and out on the plasma screen. These are specific events that have happened in the house after the first series of 5. You must go to the answer podium and list the events you saw on the plasma screen in chronological order from earliest to most recent, and you get 1 point for each right answer in the sequence. And after the after a certain number of rounds, the house guest with the most points is the winner. So, what did you think of this veto competition?
I think it was smart for production. It didn't cost anything. It was super, super simple. Did not have to be over the top. It was what it was, straight to the point.
Right.
So, and it was a memory game. It gave you an opportunity to kind of see how much fun they've been having over these last few
Right.
weeks. So, I thought it was great, and I think it was fair. You have a great memory or you don't.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it did. It felt so low key.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there on the couches watching some videos, and then they just, it's like taking a quiz at school, and
Yes. Mm-hmm.
so I like the simplicity of it, and it's one that you can play along with at home. So
Yes.
those are always fun competitions. So we we get like 2 rounds of this thing, and we have Roddy, Josh, Marcellus, Lisa, and Jason advance from round 1 into round 2, and we get Lisa winning with a score of 10, which
Hmm.
is, I believe, her second win of the season,
Oh.
or maybe second or third.
Of the veto competition?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay. Okay.
Well, just in total, like
Oh,
she
in general.
she had the first HOH
Mm-hmm.
of the season, so I think this is either her second win, or it doesn't matter. I'm not a stats guy. I just, for people that enjoy that kind of thing, I'm trying to keep track.
Gotcha. Sorry, I can't help.
No, it's good. It's good. The internet exists, so they can go look for it themselves. So Lisa and Chiara talk, and Lisa tells her what happened last week doesn't matter. It's all about what happens this week. And Chiara keeps trying to explain herself, even though Lisa is telling her to stop, let bygones be bygones. And she says, a liar gives too much
I,
information, more than you want to know.
yeah, I was just like, I love that. I was like, I love it. Like, I'm glad her eyes are open, her mouth is shut. She's listening, she's taking it in, and so she's making a mental note. So, like, way to go, Lisa. Way to go.
Yeah. I like that read from her. So then we get a conversation with Lisa, Marcellus, and Danielle, where they are once again discussing getting rid of Roddy. They think that Roddy is more dangerous than Chiara, and if get rid of uh you get rid of Roddy, then you are going to be able to pull Chiara in. So from there, then we get some speculation about who might come back into the game, and, basically what people are kind of feeling. And, we get Jason, who thinks it's going to be cool to hear about stories from the outside. We get Roddy, who thinks that whoever comes in will have a hard time fitting in. And then we get Marcellus, who wants Amy back. We get Lisa wanting Eric back. And yeah, so there's not too much going on there. We follow this up with a America's Choice, and
Yeah, of course.
of course, and the question this week is, what would you like to send the house guests as a housewarming gift? A blender, a microwave, or a massage chair? And so America votes, and the house guests get a microwave with uh, already provided with microwave popcorn,
Mm-hmm.
which is very cool. I thought the way that this segment was, like, the microwave was like around the corner, but it didn't feel like it was out of sight at all. So
It
when
did
they
not. When Danielle went up, yeah, go ahead.
well, when they ran over and they saw what it was like, okay, you obviously had to have seen that, unless you came into the living room from the other direction,
They could
which
have
is
filmed it
possible.
that way. It is possible. They could have filmed it that way and it possibly covered off that section or something and then revealed it and allowed them to walk in to get that shot. But I'm like the look on their faces. I was just like, come on, you guys. And then pulling out the popcorn and then being so concerned about the clock. And I was like, and I guess if you have nothing else to do, maybe this is entertaining and just maybe.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of cool that they set their own time on the clock and were living in their own Big
Big
Brother
Brother time.
time. Um, you know, yeah, that would kind of drive me crazy though, to walk past a microwave and see the timer on and see that it was the wrong time.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Little things like that bother me. I don't know. Uh,
Understood.
Basically, then we get a conversation between Josh and Lisa where he's practically begging her to use the veto on Roddy. And, it doesn't feel like this conversation is doing much to sway her. It's not very interesting to, plead to take someone else that you're next to off the block. But after the conversation, Lisa is just left there with this big smile on her face. She's she's relishing the moment,
I was like, I didn't even know how she was able to hold it in during the
right?
conversation, but it was so blank faced. And then when he left, yeah, I don't know how she was able to do that.
Me either. Yeah. It just yeah, that would be the thing that I would be the worst at, is that I don't have a poker face. So if I'm not pleased with you, it's hard for me
To fake that.
to yeah. But good on the Princess of Darkness.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So we go into the POV ceremony, and we usually we don't get anything too interesting here, but we do get Josh kind of ripping into Chiara and again making a plea for Roddy to be vetoed. It is to no avail as Lisa chooses not to use the POV, and you know, yeah, I mean, right choice to make here.
Yeah.
It was funny to see Josh kind of rip into Chiara there, even though it's not a smart move.
I mean,
And
if you know you're on your way out the door, what do you have to lose?
that is very true. So Lisa and Danielle, after this meeting, go into the HOH room to console Chiara. Again,
Mm-hmm.
they're playing into the game here, and in the diary room, Lisa says that she's essentially going to pretend that Chiara is forgiven until she is out the door. So, yeah, that is how we end episode 16, and we start the next episode with Josh hanging out in one of the bedrooms talking to the lizards. He feels a kinship with them because he can tell them things, and they don't go to someone else to twist his words. I'm feeling like there was a bit of projection there, but I
just
don't know if I'm reading that wrong.
just a little.
Just a little bit. Josh then goes to talk to Jerry. He can't believe he's going to go out 5-0, and he knows Roddy is a big threat, and he can't believe that people aren't taking a shot at him. And Jerry tells him that he has to campaign. But Josh says anytime that he tries to do that, people end up running that info
Mm-hmm.
back to Roddy.
So I will say this episode put some other things in perspective for me in regards to editing, and I know I bring up editing on damn near every episode that we recorded, so I'm sorry.
It's
But
fine.
there was so much going on in this episode as to how they played the clips. It didn't really come together for me as to the timing of a lot of these different shows, a lot of these different clips, and something like this in particular. I'm like, you've had these big blow ups with Roddy already, and now we're going back to this. Oh, I'm gonna campaign against him, to another blow up. You know what I mean? And then so all of these other conversations that were also transpiring all of it didn't seem like it was in the right order. So I feel like this episode was a little off for me as to how things played themselves out, or at least how we were shown. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, I think the edit. I mean, certainly in any season of Big Brother, I think the edit is important. I think that's even more so true for these first two seasons of proper Big Brother,
Yes.
where the jury is going to be watching it, and so what what they see is kind of the narrative of the season there. What the producers want them to see is the
Mm-hmm.
narrative there. Yeah, I believe I'm I feel like that big blow up. I think the big blow up is on the day of the veto competition. So I think it happened before the veto, if I'm reading this right.
Which blow up with Josh and Roddy? And then
Yeah. Oh. I might be thinking of the later one in the backyard with all of the people. That's the one that like Marcellus gets into it, and then
yeah, so
it,
no, that hadn't happened yet.
okay.
The big blow up that I saw between Josh and Roddy, again, it was just about them fighting because I think Josh originally said he would not campaign against
Right.
Roddy. That
Nope.
was his
Yep.
commitment to Roddy. And Roddy was basically calling him out on it. Like, you are around campaigning. You
Yeah.
are literally around campaigning. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Right. You're right. So following that, we do get a conversation where Josh goes to talk to Jason, and he kind of gives the old Dr. Will approach of take me to the end. Nobody's gonna vote for me,
Yeah.
so I'm an easy person to beat, and then he makes a pitch to Danielle where he's like, "You gotta help me here," and Danielle tells Josh that she'll see what she can do, but then we get a diary room from Roddy where he's essentially still feeling like he's pretty safe. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Seems like everyone's willing to get rid of Josh," and you know, right now we're at a point where Lisa and Danielle are still talking about getting rid of Roddy. Lisa is still for the idea. We get a conversation between Jerry and Josh where Jerry says, Josh is looking for Jerry's vote. And Jerry says if he can get Marcellus on board, he's good to keep Josh. And then Marcellus runs this info back to Roddy, who confronts Josh in
And
the confrontation that we see in the backyard, where the entire house basically just kind of piles on him and is, it's a far cry from where we were just a few moments ago when it seemed like some people were willing to get rid of Roddy.
yeah, yeah. And even Marcellus, I think he had made the statement because Josh, I don't know what he said to him about why he was in that predicament. And Marcellus' response to him was just, like, you are the reason.
Yeah.
Like, you're the reason. You've kind of upset and hurt everybody in the house. And at that time, I was trying to see if, like, are you playing this game? Like, are you playing along? Are you, is this a fake out? Like, what's going on? Like, or Marcellus, are you really genuinely saying these things to Josh? And so I was trying to put all of that together because just a minute ago the goal was to get Roddy out. So why are you all trying to push this narrative of Josh? So
Yeah, I think because I know after this fight that Marcellus is no longer on board to keep
mm,
Josh. So I think really what it is the house guests kind of agreeing to one thing, but then it's kind of that other component of I live with this guy and he annoys the crap out of me.
mm,
And so this confrontation in the backyard is just kind of a confirmation of oh, it's always going to be like this living with this guy. So maybe it's best to
Get
just get
rid of
rid
him.
of him.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting kind of conversation here. It's a hard one to come back from when you've got the entire house piling on you there. It's like once everyone has chosen to go against you, there's nothing much that you can really say to get them back on your side. I just think that he had a lot of ill will kind of stacked against him at this point, that nobody was going to listen to him. So we go to the studio where we are greeted by Julie Chen, and she checks in with the house guests. So she asks Roddy about this confrontation and
Mhm.
whether or not the two of them have made up since that fight. And Roddy says, "Oh yeah, I think we made up the moment the last word was said. It really wasn't a big problem. We kind of understand each other." And then Josh replies saying that Roddy got a little New Jersey on him, and Julie asks if he got a little
Queen
Queens
done.
on Roddy.
It's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I have the feeling, especially in these early seasons, that you're dealing with a lot of normal people here. So once they realize, like, oh, that fight ended up on national television, then they
Mm.
gotta kind of roll it back a little bit. But I don't know that I necessarily believe Roddy. But
I don't
then,
either. I don't either. Mm-mm.
yeah. So then Julie turns to Marcellus and he says, "How do you feel about someone returning to the game?" Uh, he basically is just being dramatic and says,
Yeah.
I want Amy back. Give me
Mm-hmm.
Amy."
Mm-hmm.
So then she goes on to talk to Chiara and says, "You've had a difficult week. I want to know how hard it was for you making those final decisions as HOH." And Chiara says, "It was very difficult. There's two very important people in those chairs. And if I was to do wrong by one of them, I'm truly sorry, but it was a decision that I had to make." And so those are kind of the final words that we get from Chiara there. It's, you know,
Which is
she,
completely different from what she was saying when she nominated him.
oh,
That was
yeah.
completely different.
Yeah, I think she got a little caught up in the role of HOH, got a little bit of HOH-itis there that
Mhm.
she is starting to come back from. So she's kind of having to walk it back a little bit. So then we get some final speeches. Nothing too interesting. No threats of arson this time. It was pretty sincere from Josh. So
Wait a minute. Tell me you don't believe that. Tell me you
I,
did not.
I don't necessarily believe him. I just think it was nicer than
Oh, okay. Okay.
threatening
Okay.
people with arson.
Gotcha. Because I was like, he was just like, oh, we're going to keep in touch outside of the house. Well, there have been countless DRs where he's just like, I can't stand these people. I'm never going to talk to them again. Just, yeah. So I was just cracking up. I was cracking up. I was like, his lies are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think again it's that immaturity. So I think he goes back and forth between I hate these people to these are the best people I've
Best people
ever
in the
met in my
world.
life.
He taught me so much.
So then we cut to a commercial. We get our first votes of the episode. We get Lisa and Marcellus. Lisa says, "I believe that Josh's behavior is a little bit too extravagant for me. It is a little bit too loud, and it just gets to the point where you don't want to babysit anymore. I feel that Roddy was the master behind the plan to evict me when Eric and I were up together by using other people. Roddy didn't go and do it himself, and he had other people do his work for him. It's dirty, and I don't like that. And then we get Marcellus, who says, Josh is one of the vilest people I've ever met in my life. Josh has been nothing but an irritant within the house. Roddy was one of the first people that I thought was a threat because he's so smart and because he's very, very charming. He's in a vulnerable position this week, being up at all, being nominated. His jugular is exposed, and you almost want to get the most popular player out at all costs. I think this is some interesting insight into how they're kind of viewing the players here. I think that Lisa makes an interesting point about Roddy kind of using other people to do his dirty work so his hands are clean so that he's able to, remain this like righteous, loyal person, and then, Marcellus isn't saying anything about either of the two nominees here that we didn't already know. So we come back from commercial to these hometown interviews with
Yes.
Roddy and Chiara's friends. So I didn't write down like specific things, but like, what did you think of Roddy's friends? And yeah, let's start there.
So I think his friends, they seem normal enough to me. He seems like he is just one of the bros, this one of the guys, and I feel like that's what his friends represent. Their intellect, no clue. I really couldn't tell, other than their disdain for Chiara
Right.
and literally calling her trash. And so I was just dumbfounded. I was not expecting them to call her out about that. But yeah, I think his friends are fitting for who he is, honestly.
That's so surprising to me because I looked at them and I was like, it's similar to what Josh was saying about being the smartest one
Mm-hmm.
of his friends. Seems like Roddy is the smartest of
Mm.
his friends. I really got the sense that like these are, these are people that I would expect to, they're kind of, they just don't seem as refined. They seem kind of like
As intelligent, is that what you're trying to say?
yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're I don't know. They just seemed like kind of frat bros,
Agreed.
uh that I could kind of see like, okay, these are guys that he would play poker with. I can see him broing out with the guys,
Mm-hmm.
smoking cigars.
Mm-hmm.
Um it just, I don't know. They didn't necessarily seem like the type of people that I would expect him to be hanging around with. But yeah, and then Kiara's friends, I didn't have too much to say about them.
Yeah, neither did I. Neither did I. They did say that I think her reactions were real, and she's always pushed the envelope and things like that. So, but I'm never too one. I'm never one to care too much for these little pieces about their home.
Yeah, me either. We're not we're not getting any special insight. You get more insight by watching these people
Mm-hmm.
24/7 on
Mm-hmm.
the live feeds, and then than anything anyone could say about them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
from there, we get some speculation about the returning house guests. We get Josh in the DR. He's got more lizard metaphors to give us. He was really trying to hammer home the lizard metaphor. Really making us feel like he's just a misfit in this house that's in a cage. So,
Whatever.
um, then we get Jerry, who is pissed off as hell that someone is returning to the game. And of course, this is because he knows that if Eric comes back, he's toast. And so he wants Lori back. You know, then we get some more votes here. We get, I believe, Jason Jerry and Danielle. And so Jason says, Josh is a great guy. He brings a lot of life and energy to this house, and just having him around keeps some spirits high. It's kind of a tough decision to make right now. Roddy is a great competitor in this game, and I feel like it might be the best interest of this house to vote to evict him right now. We get Jerry saying the reasons why I would conceive of voting Roddy out of the game is that he is a very, very smart man and probably a master strategist. It's been a dicey decision for me. On the one hand, keeping Josh and his antics allow me to fly below the radar. On the other hand, his antics stir up so much it makes it uncomfortable in the house. And then finally, we get Danielle, who says, the only reason why I want Josh to stay is that I can use Josh to serve my needs. I believe he will be on my side and he will help me get to the end. A lot of people love Roddy. He's charismatic, but Roddy needs to leave because I don't think I have a chance of winning the 500 Gs while he's still in the house. So again, some good insight there. They are learning a little bit about giving us a little bit of something, even when it is a unanimous vote here. I think it was a little bit, it's a hard thing because if they're not going to do a live vote, then it's kind of like, okay, if we get these votes, but we don't have them saying at the end who they're voting for, then you're kind of giving up the game a little bit here. So I'm glad they start to refine it a little more as we go on here, but it's a little bit better than what we got a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, I would agree.
So the moment that we've all been waiting for has finally arrived as Josh is evicted by a vote of 5-0, a unanimous vote, as I said. And yeah, he is gone.
As happy as I am to see him go, I was still shocked because you
Yeah.
did a huge buildup of this
Yep.
conversation going back and forth about Roddy. I still think it would have been a very good move to do again to break up their duo, but I was damn shocked that Josh was gone. Like I was very shocked.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, they do a lot of legwork to set up the eviction of Roddy here, just for it to be kind of a bait and switch here. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, I feel like there were just certain votes that they needed. If they weren't going to have Jason, then they needed Marcellus, and after that blow up, they just were not able to ring him in there. So this is what we are left with, and so Josh leaves the house, goes to sit down with Julie, and Julie says, "You don't seem surprised to be sitting here." And he says, "I'm not. I came in with the strategy of not necessarily being liked or enjoyed, so people would want me to come to the end with them. I was fine to keep an alliance with people, but once it broke down, I had to branch out." I think that that's an interesting approach to the game. Again, I think it's him trying to do like a Dr. Will type thing. I know that you probably haven't seen Big Brother 2, so basically Will was kind of the house pariah and kind of had the approach of bring me to the end. I've already lost the game, and then they do bring him to the end and he wins. But I feel like Josh is kind of
So Will came back for a later
Will
season.
Will does come back, yes.
So I did see him, but not from two. So, but yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I do know who he is. Sadly, I know who he is.
Okay.
But for Josh here, I really think he's grasping. I don't think he came in with the strategy. I
Okay.
really do
Yeah.
not. And I don't even think Julie is buying it because even Julie was like,
Right.
"Yeah, you started causing waves like hour two,
Right.
like not day two, hour two.
Or
You were
two. Yeah.
causing what, you know what I mean?" So I think he was just stretching to try to make some sense of what has happened, in my opinion.
That's Yeah, that is a fair point. I do think he was trying to come in as a Dr. Will-esque character,
Hmm.
but I do agree with you that he's someone that has shown us time and time again, like he wants to be liked by people. It's just he
Hmm.
keeps getting in his own way here.
Yep. I like that. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so then Julie asks him, "Did you know from the minute you were put on the block you were a goner?" And Josh says, "Yep, I knew that Chiara wouldn't have done it had she not secured the votes already. She's a very ruthless and diabolical player. I respect her for that. I knew she did her research and her homework." I feel like that's giving Chiara way too much credit. I
Agreed.
I think, I mean, did she know that she would likely have the votes if she put Josh on the block? Yes, but I don't think much of the way she went about getting him out of the house uh, was anything that was ruthless or masterful.
It was not
Um,
at all masterful.
yeah,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And she feels like she's done something. I don't know if you heard her or not, but when they cut back to her, she was talking to the house guests. It was just like, "Oh, thank you all so much for following her lead, I guess." But yeah, like Kiara, you didn't do anything.
right. So then we get some surprising information. I guess surprising if you're only watching the show, where Julie tells him that just as short as 2 days
2 days.
prior to the eviction, he had the votes to stay, and she asks him if, knowing this info, he would have done anything differently. To which he says, "No, I played the way that I thought fit," and that's the typical line because you've done all that you can do at this point,
Mhm.
so why
Mhm.
regret anything? So she finishes off with basically asking, "I know there was some animosity in the house. What positive do you take from the experience?" And basically, this is where Josh gives the line about how much he loves everybody and how they're all great people, and he's learned so much from each person. And so, with that, we are basically we're done with Josh. We bid him a farewell. We get to meet his girlfriend Merritt on the
Yes.
way out.
Oh my.
Um,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah, this.
I could have cared less. Like I just did not. Like, what was the point? You didn't do that to anybody else.
So, but to be fair, all of those previously evicted players were
Left.
sequestered and
Yeah.
were going to be brought back into the game. That this is a
Gotcha.
holdover
Gotcha.
from Big Brother 2. They did this on Big Brother 2 so many times, and it was awkward every time it happened because they would just like linger on, here's this house guest, they've just been evicted, they're crying into their loved one's arms, and the camera's just
Ate it up.
there on them while Julie's just sitting there off to the side waiting for her next cue.
Ridiculous. I only thing I wrote down was like it's more money because you've flown her out at this
Right.
point, But I literally was like it's more money. They've spent more money. That's ridiculous. Yeah, unnecessary. Not that it's my money, but
Right. Yeah, I'm fine with it if it's if they want to blow money on it. So um uh then we come back from commercial to the big thing that the show has been leading up to. We get our returning house guests, and
Mhm.
so this is an interesting segment because it starts off by asking each of the remaining evicted house guests how much of the prize money they'd give up to go back in the house. And so Lori says that she would give up $50,000, and the rest of the group, Tanya, Amy, and Eric, say that they would each give up half, so $250,000. And so this is the first round of the competition, and Lori is eliminated from contention. She should have gone with 250. I don't know what she was thinking. If 50,000 is just such a random number, you got to think that people are either going to say all of it or half of it.
Mhm.
I don't know why you would say 50,000. Like
I probably
it's a
would.
okay.
I probably would. I probably would
Okay.
because I was just because but I look at it as this is my money. You know, I
Right.
don't want to give up as much of it. But also, I mean, it's hell. Even what Lori said when she heard that the other ones did 250,000, like shit, you guys really want to get back in.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, I would not have done 250. So I would not have been back in.
Right.
I would not. Sorry.
um so with this second round, they are asked, of the remaining 42 days left in the game, how many days would you be willing to eat PB&J? And so we get Tanya, who says 21, and then Amy and Eric both say the remaining 42 days left in the game. And so they are the final two in this competition. And
Mhm.
it is, something that we should have mentioned is that once they have said, like, oh, I'll give up this much prize money and I'll eat PB&J for these many days, they are made to sign a contract
Mhm.
to basically make it legally binding that this is what they'll have to do. But immediately following that final round, Julie tears up the contracts. She's
Yeah.
like, if either one of you makes it through, you're playing for the same amount of money.
Mhm.
You don't have to eat PB&J for the rest of your stay here. Do you think that that was a good move
To
on
tear up the
production's
contract?
part? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I do.
Okay.
I do. Because the goal was to see how bad or who wanted to get back in, the baddest. Like who wanted that? Who really, really wanted it? Obviously, me and Lori would have been out. But I think once it's all said and done, you've proven you want to get back in. Challenge is over. You're back in with the rest of the house guests, playing the same games as the house guests. So I think it's only fair. I do. You don't?
I do think it's fair. I think, like, if this happened today, I don't think there's a chance in hell that they don't make them, like, abide by this contract. Like, they're not gonna be, like, altruistic. In
Okay.
2024, absolutely, or 2025, absolutely not.
Okay. Okay.
But it's not up to me and it's not up to them who ends up getting back into the house. It is up to the house guests themselves.
Which I
And
thought was awesome. I thought this was a very good way to like make things even for the house.
yeah, I agree. Cause yeah, it is fun to, like, watch a competition and like watch a buzzer beater to see who's gonna get in. But I do like that this kind of plays on the social aspects of the game
Mm.
where people have to really think, like, one of these people is coming in, we're doing the courtesy of giving you a choice, so make a smart choice here.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we'll kind of go down the line of votes here. So Roddy votes for Eric to come back in the game. No surprise there. Danielle votes for Amy. I don't think that's too surprising. Marcellus votes for Amy, of course.
Mhm.
Chiara votes for Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry votes for Amy.
Mm-hmm. Which we also knew was going to happen.
Very true. Very true. The surprise of the episode, I think, for everyone is when we get to Lisa and she votes for Amy to come back into the game.
Shocked me.
I think by this point, Amy already had enough votes to get back in. So Lisa's vote does not necessarily matter here, but in terms of kind of her progression in this game, I think that it is a very shocking and a very pleasing choice that she has made here.
Way to go, Lisa.
Way to go. Way to go. And then just to make it official, Jason also votes for Amy to return to the game. And so we get Amy back. We get Miss Southern Belle.
Memphis, Tennessee. Oh my gosh. Whew.
Yeah.
And then this hair. What the hell? I don't know what.
Oh, the cornrows.
Yes. I was like,
Yeah.
that was I'm sorry. That's off topic. Sorry.
No, not at all. I hated it.
Because that's problematic for me. Like it's just yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and then those like shoes she's wearing, it seems like she's like coming out of a music video for like some white R&B like group.
Oh Jesus, bless her heart. Like that's a for real serious, like bless your heart for trying.
Yeah.
But Amy's back.
So, I don't love that Amy's back. I think that they're like, if I'm talking purely like entertainment and who's going to be more, I would have preferred someone like Lori, even though, she didn't serve much in terms of trying to save her game. She still gave us some entertainment in that first week as far as house fights go. I guess I just don't like that, the team of Marcellus and Amy are reunited, so we get to deal with that back and forth. But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then basically we end the episode with the HOH competition. They are all in this bathtub. It's full of like murky water. If they get up, they're out, and they also aren't able to sleep. And then there are buckets that have these mystery contents in them. And so before the episode ends, Chiara is instructed to empty one of the buckets into the tub. It has squids, and Roddy immediately jumps out.
Yes.
And
I was shocked by that actually.
So
that he was the first to go.
Yeah, me too. Like this big, big tough guy, and
But I love this competition. The endurance competition. I am here for this. I understand that it is the low budgeted form of what we get nowadays, where everything is mechanical and something, like you're not necessarily asking the head of household to do anything, So I really love that we're getting like the first, not first, but like a groundbreaking, beginning stages of what they were going toward. So I love this. I love it. So this is the type of competition that I'm here for when it comes down to the head of household. Like this is what it should be.
Yeah, so. I hear you. I like competitions where I like competitions where production isn't able to like manipulate the outcome as much. There's a lot of times like with the wall competition where it ends in like 40 minutes because they just start doing all sorts of crazy things to like speed things up. And at least here, it's like, okay, maybe every hour a bucket gets poured into the bathtub. And so it's really an endurance competition. It's really only the house guests are the ones that are able to end this thing. So we do not get the HOH outcome. And so I wonder who is going to be our next HOH. Guess you'll have to watch the next episode to find out, unless you want me to tell you.
No, do not tell me. Do not tell
Okay.
me.
Okay, I will not tell you.
No. I'm gonna watch it, and I was like, I was about to keep going, and I was just like, let me stop. I do not want any spoilers, so I'm just gonna stop.
So yeah, we basically end the episode with Julie giving us the schedule for the week. I think she said something like they would only be airing 2 episodes or just airing on a different night. Anyway, the big thing for going into this next week here is that the house guests are going to be getting a visit from Sheryl Crow, and that will be in a special 2-hour episode of Big Brother 3. And so I am excited for you to get to see that.
I mean, luckily I like Sheryl Crow. Luckily, but let's see what happens because it's 2 hours. Let's see what happens if she can hold my attention.
Let's see. I mean, Big Brother certainly does not have a good track record when it comes to these longer episodes, but I don't really remember what happens in and I'm not lying.
I was gonna say I don't even listen to you anymore. Yeah, just I don't.
You'll have to watch to find out.
To expect the unexpected.
Right. So that is basically what we got for week 5. What are your final thoughts?
I'm enjoying the game, and so I stand by what I said at the beginning of this episode. Like, shit is getting real, and I'm loving the game talk. And when I first started episode 15 and saw the foolishness going on with Chiara before the hell broke loose, I was just like, oh my gosh, can we get to the game? Can we get to the game? Can we get to the game, please? And then all of a sudden, like I told you, like I was legitimately pausing it, trying to catch up and write down and go back and catch up. And so that I love. And then to end on a competition like this, like if this is a insight into what is to come and how this season is going to end, I'm ready. Like I'm ready. I'm still rooting for Jason. Danielle is sneaking in there in like a close second for me, but yeah, like I'm excited to see how her mastermind plays out and how Jason is going to play his role within it in this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the pieces are all kind of starting to kind of fall down here. You know, it's kind of like a game of Jenga where you're slowly trying to pick the right piece out and move things. And so I think this is kind of the start of Danielle kind of getting her claws in here, and we'll see if she is able to kind of keep it up here. I think that there was some very interesting house dynamics here. I think that it is very interesting to start to see Lisa kind of coming out of her shell, and so whether or not she is able to keep that up is going to be very interesting. And so yeah, there's a lot of storylines that are going on here. There's a lot of drama that is being set up here, and yeah, I am very much looking forward to next week. All I want to do is have some fun, and I got a feeling that I'm not the only one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, yes, sir. That was a good one. That was a good one. That
I
a
was
good one.
waiting to get it in. I was like, how am I gonna do this? And I did it. So go
Way to
me.
go. Go you. Go you, Noah.
All right. So with all of that being said, let us plug all of our stuff. So if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at noamsay or at blue sky at noamsay dot blue sky or bsky dot social. It doesn't matter. I'll post everything down below. So then if you want to follow the Jury House podcast, you can follow us on Twitter at house_jury, on Instagram at the Jury House podcast, and at Blue Sky at the juryhouse.bsky.social.
And if you're looking for some daily inspiration, you can follow me at Inspired by Jimmy L. At actually on all social media platforms, or just go to inspiredbyjimmyl.com. You definitely find me there.
All right. Well, that is all that we had for you guys this week. And we will see you next time when we hopefully send someone out of the Big Brother 3 house for good.
Oh my goodness.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.